Hey guys, how you doing? It's Alex, Southern California. This is going to be my entry into Andrew's Tale from the Crates most recent 1,000 subs contest. Congratulations, Andrew. Well deserved. I've really enjoyed your channel over the last specifically about 6 to 8 months. In fact, I just started watching your video from today about Southern California punk. This is what's playing in the background here. The Germs, GI from 1979, originally on Slash Records. This is a Rhino reissue. Just thought I'd play that in your honor. That's definitely a genre I've been trying to learn a lot more about ever since I moved to California about 4 or 5 years ago. So anyway, what I did here for your contest, I challenged myself to follow the same genres that you had. So here are my 10 records. Number 1 was folk, so I chose this one here. Bonnie Prince Billy's 1999 release, I See a Darkness, on Drag City Records from Chicago. Of course, Bonnie Prince Billy, otherwise known as Will Oldham. If you don't know Bonnie Prince Billy, he's definitely an artist that mixes country and folk influences. This album in particular has a very dark sort of gothic element to it. Johnny Cash famously covered the title track, I See a Darkness, in one of his later releases. I'm going to play a little clip from this one. I know Fred, I think you showed this a long time ago. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar. Andrew, I'm sure you're familiar with Bonnie Prince. But in my opinion, this was by far his finest moment, and is one of my favorite records of all time. So here's a clip.
My minor place, well, I put the shoes in line, separate the women mine, as we do what we do fine, so victorious, so benign. Well, I've been to a minor place, and I can say I like its space, if I am
Alright, next we have alternative. I was thinking about showing a little Sonic Youth, but I decided to go with this one, a little less known band. This is Grandaddy's The Software Slump from the year 2000 on V2 Records. I love that back cover. So this is a fantastic indie psychedelic pop record. Definitely captures that moment in 1999, 2000, where a lot of artists were preoccupied with technology and its role in society. Cover is very appropriate with the keyboard superimposed on the natural landscape there. Fairly dark album. At the same time, the band doesn't take itself too seriously, so while it's melancholy, it's also spacey. The first track I'm going to play for you guys here really shows you some of the almost krautrocky type spacey keyboards and stuff that really make this a standout record. Highly recommended. If you don't know this one, Grandaddy, The Software Slump. Alright, next we got the blues. Now I grew up and lived in Chicago for a long time, and so the blues to me are, fortunately, kind of a cartoonish version of, you know, what they really probably are. And so for the most part I've stayed away over the last 10 years. You know, the blues in Chicago are ubiquitous and at the same time very commercialized, but I do enjoy a lot of experimental music, and you know, artists like Captain Beefheart that have sort of stretched the idiom. This here is a record by Bill Orcutt. He was the original guitarist of the noise band Harry Pussy from the early 90s. And then we got drummer Chris Corsano of many projects. But so here's Bill. He's in his mid-50s now. So this album was from 2013, recorded in 2012. It's called The Raw and the Cooked. Just a fantastic free improv version of the blues with just Orcutt on the guitar, electric guitar, and Chris Corsano just bashing away on the drums. Really, really cool stuff. I'll play a little piece for you here. Next up we got Psych, and I'm sure almost all you guys are well aware of this record from the band The Silver Apples, self-titled debut on Cap Records from 1968. There's the label there. Yeah, just one of my favorite records of all time right here. You know, and when you think about this coming out in 1968, it's even more mind-boggling, you know, a full 4 years before, you know, German progressive bands were kind of taking a lot of these ideas, the minimalist tribal percussion rhythms and, you know, the synths, and the, you know, repetitive type things that, you know, Can would be doing, you know, a few years later. These guys were doing in 68, and it's an American band, which is pretty interesting. And it's just a duo. It's just a mysterious guy who went by Simeon, who played some kind of a self-made oscillator. I guess he controlled the oscillators with his arms and legs, create some pretty interesting sounds. And then we got a percussionist, drummer Danny Taylor, and yeah, just between the two guys, they created an amazingly unique sound, and really just highly influential band. And you still hear their influence today with bands like Portishead and Radiohead. So here's a little clip of this.
With your leggings of dark clouds, come to us.
was a little bit more challenging. The genre was country. Um, but here's an artist, Matt Hook, or Huck, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. His band goes by Phosphorescent. The album here is Pride from 2007. I think the cover pretty much describes the music really well. So this is really spacious, definitely, you know, a little drugged out, and, you know, heavily influenced by country. I don't know if you could properly call this a country record, but you can certainly hear the influence that country has on him and his vocal style in particular. The track I'm going to play is just a fantastic track called Wolves, where he is sort of imagining, or maybe not imagining, some wolves that are attacking his cabin, presumably in the middle of the woods. Maybe some drug-induced paranoia or images that and there's also a song here, Cocaine Lights. It's fantastic, with some howling at the moon type vocals. So I think he became a lot more popular, I think, after a couple of records. He actually did a Willie Nelson covers album right after this one, and then he got a little more poppy over the last 10 years. I do enjoy some of his stuff, but this is the only record that I have of his. It's absolutely fantastic, and I love the cover with, it's just him, probably hasn't slept in days, and just writing some good tunes. So here's a little bit of the song Wolves.
Tearing up holes in the house, tearing their claws in the ground, staring with blood in their mouth. Mama, they won't let me out.
Alright, next is punk. I thought about including the Germs, were one of the Southern California punk bands. In the end, I could not leave this one out. The Birthday Party, Prayers on Fire. This one is from 1981. It was a US pressing on Thermidor, originally released, I think, on the Australian label Missing Link. Of course, Nick Cave's punk band. Just mind-blowing, just pure raw aggression, but extremely interesting, experimental at the same time. Very hard to describe, but just brutal and beautiful in the best way possible. I'll play a little clip from that one now. Next we got classic rock. Again, I'm going to pick something a little bit off the beaten path with some classic rock links, of course, to the Velvet Underground. This was Nico's Desert Songs. Sorry, Desert Shore, from 1970. This is an early UK pressing. This was actually recorded in London in 1970. It was actually produced by John Cale. Just haunting, very, very hard to pin down exactly what genre this would fit in, but you know, just fantastic original vocals and incredible arrangements here. I'm not going to play a clip from this one. I think most of you guys are fairly familiar with Nico. Next was metal. I don't have much metal anymore. I've had some things over the years, but you know, Sun, the Doom drone band, is one of the few that I still have in the collection. This is their 2009 release, Monolith and Dimensions on Southern Lord. Really cool gatefold here, and you guys are probably very familiar with the band as well, but I like this in particular because, you know, the last track, it's called Alice, and it's in honor of Alice Coltrane, and it definitely veers into some very non-metal, but very interesting and beautiful places. So I'll play a little clip from that song, Alice, which is a 60-minute track. Next we have soul, funk, R&B. Again, I'm going with something a little off the beaten track with this fantastic EP from the New York band DSG. This is from 1981 on 99 Records. It's an original pressing on this. These are the four sisters of the band. We have Renee, Valerie, Marie, and Deborah. And I don't remember if Tito was related, but he's the plays percussion on this one. Man, what an amazing! I mean, it's certainly funky. It's the vocals are certainly soul infused, and you know the rhythm section is absolutely killer. I believe Big Star mentioned that he saw them live fairly recently. This would be an amazing band to see live for sure. I'll give you a little taste here. Lastly, we have one of my great passions, which is jazz, and in particular this record and this player. So Albert Eiler Trio with Spiritual Unity. This is a second pressing from the first year of release in 1965 on ESP disc. Still has the shrink wrap and the original price tag. Really lucky to find this a few months ago in pristine condition. I used to have a 70s reissue of this. Yeah, what to say? Albert Eiler. After John Coltrane, really my second favorite sax player. This one was recorded in 1964, 5 months before Coltrane would record "A Love Supreme." Of course, John and Albert were friends. John saw a great deal of potential and talent in Albert, and it all comes to fruition in this amazing session with the great Sonny Murray on drums and the great Gary Peacock on bass. Bernard Stolman, who recorded the session, helped record the session, and founded ESP Disc. He writes that he knew as the session was going on that this was a very special recording, and it really is. It's a magical recording. I'm going to play a little clip here, but so yeah, Andrew, congratulations on 1,000 subs. Cheers again. Anytime you want to dig down here in LA, Orange County especially, let's do it. Cheers.